Do you guys want to know how I raised over $2 million for my last 3 startups? Keep watching. What's up, guys? My name's Andrew. I'm a software engineer and a serial entrepreneur, and I'm currently working on my newest startup, Autopilot. Autopilot is a B2B SaaS company, and if you guys want to follow me on my journey of building this SaaS company, raising money, and just following the journey in general, and learning from my mistakes in the past, go ahead and subscribe and keep watching. Today, we're gonna be talking about how to raise money. What we're gonna kind of do is gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna go over the last 3 startups that I've raised money for, including the startup that I'm working on now. First company is gonna be BEMODEL. Second company is gonna be Evolve Fitness. The third company was Gypsee, my travel app during COVID. And the fourth company is my home run, and that is Autopilot, the field service management software that I'm working on right now. And I'm really excited to go through all of this because we're gonna be going down memory lane. And they're all pretty different. I watch a lot of how these people raised money videos on YouTube, and it's always from people who completed college, have Ivy League degrees, or they went to an Ivy League school and they dropped out, or they just seem to be generally well connected. I'm in a completely different boat. I'm not a college dropout. It's even worse, I'm a high school dropout. And I've had some wild success way back. I made about $2 million right out of high school, building a MySpace profile editor, and I'll do a whole video on how I made my $2 million from MySpace. It's a really cool story, but we'll save that for another video. What I'm trying to say here is how I raised money was all based off of my desire, progress, traction, being a builder, and actually putting in the work. There was no form of credibility besides me actually making shit and getting shit done and being able to show investors. And I was a talker too. You know, I was pretty decent at sales. I definitely wouldn't say I'm like this crazy smart person by any stretch of the imagination. So I was just really good and passionate. And I remember my first investment that I got for $100,000. I wish I had the email, but we're talking like 15 years ago. And I remember the email he said, he's like, I see your passion. I'm gonna give you the money because of your passion. What I want to talk about, guys, is before we dive into my startups of how I raised money, and then at the end, we'll kind of recap on what I think are the traits and what you need to do in order to raise money. I want to talk about Ed. So Ed Kang has a YouTube channel, guys. I'm gonna recommend you watch this video from Ed Kang here on how to raise money, because he's gonna go over all the 6 types of people that you should contact in order to raise money first. It's very obvious. A lot of people say this stuff, and I've actually watched other videos too. You start with friends, families, angels, associates, business relationships, cold calling, and cold emailing. So FFAABC. And you work down that list, and he breaks it down really well. And he gives you a lot of great advice on how to approach raising money and starting with friends and starting with family, categorizing your associates into 3 categories and breaking them to your ABCs, and then angels and your business relationships and professional relationships, and then ultimately cold calling and cold emailing. So go check out that video first if you want to know how to run down that list properly. But at the end of the day, guys, it's literally contacting everybody in your phone. What I want to talk about is I feel like it'll help a lot if we kind of go down memory lane, like I said, of every stage of investments that I got and how I got them and kind of the mindset and what was going on. And then at the end of all that, I can put together my thoughts of what separated me from the rest. But like I said, guys, I'm non-traditional. I raised money from just really putting myself out there with no degrees at all, just being a builder. If you don't have an Ivy League education, I think it's very important that you are a builder and you're good at sales. You're an expert in your field. But let's just start with my first investment that I ever received. I need to preface this first. Out of high school, I was known as the whiz kid. So a lot of people knew me as the programmer because I was a programmer in high school. We're talking back in the 2000s, 2001 to 2005. I dropped out, unfortunately, at the last year, didn't finish high school. I was failing school miserably, but that was because I was obsessed with building websites. I was doing MySQL and PHP, and I was spinning up my own Linux servers and putting them in my basement downstairs and setting up a DMZ so you can access the servers from outside. And this was crazy back then, spinning up your your own Apache servers and all kinds of fun stuff back in the day. There was a really popular social media network called MySpace. And I'm gonna show you guys some really cool stuff. I'm gonna try to screenshot my old MySpace website, but I was one of the first people to ever build a MySpace website that you would go to pimp out your profile. There was like Pimp My Profile, MySpace City, MySpaceSupport.com. I was MySpaceSupport.com, and you'd get glitter graphics, your codes, your layouts, or you can use the profile editor and make your own layout. It was a fun time back in the MySpace days. I made about $2 million from the age 17 or like 18 to 19 years old. My first paycheck was $185,000 from Google because I had Google ads on my MySpace support website, and I was getting that much traffic and that many clicks to where I made $185,000 my first month ever putting those ads up. Anyways, that's a video for another day. So I wanted to preface that with, I was hyper obsessed with coding. You make your own luck, as they say. I've been coding since 1997, 98, from an 11-year-old kid on AOL learning HTML all the way to when I dropped out of high school at 17 years old. I'd already made $2 million. So I just wanted to put that out there. I had a track record already. I've already proven myself. I was able to use that as credibility when I got to my next startup. Now, my first startup that we're gonna talk about right now is BEMODEL. I didn't start BEMODEL until 2009. So we're talking about 3 years after the MySpace era. So I'd already blown all that money, blew it by like age 20. And now I was trying to raise money to do this new startup called BEMODEL. I got super into photography, and I don't know if anybody remembers modelmayhem.com, but oh my God, that was the coolest website in the world. You can get models for free. It was called TFP, and I would do photo shoots with them. TFP means time for print. So technically it means their time and you give them prints, but it's not prints, it's digital copies. And this was my first startup. I was excited, I was passionate about this. Wait till you see the designs, they're so bad.
Hello and welcome to the all-new and improved BEMODEL, the most innovative industry networking site for models, photographers, stylists, and artists. We call it the B Movement.
How I raised this first $100,000 is I had a business partner at the time. His name was Jamie. We were like best friends and we were working on the startup together. We're excited. We tried to raise money through his dad and his connections. I reached out to everybody I knew. I was posting on MySpace. The first investor we got was through my blog. I started blogging at like 19 years old, and I would blog about depression, making all the money, losing the money, how I spent the money, how I'm gonna make the money back. And these readers followed me because they found me through my MySpace support, or they found me through my MySpace profile. I had a whole bunch of friends on MySpace. This is like back in the MySpace days, and I walked into a Starbucks and I was recognized because I was on the face of every layout. If you came to my site, I was doing 1 million hits per day. Now, what I'm getting at is I was writing these blogs, and I got an investor from the blog because they saw my blog that was how I'm gonna make the money back again. It was just like, I lost everything during MySpace days, and I wrote a blog about it because I spent the money foolishly. I grew up with a single mother. I didn't have anybody to direct or lead me. I was on my own at the age of 17 years old. This blog inspired a reader, and this reader reached out to me, and we raised $50,000 from a written blog. This guy believed in me so much that I was gonna make all this money again. He read all my blogs that he invested $50,000. Making that kind of money back in 2005, 2006 was kind of unheard of. This is like right when YouTube was launching, and I was like the MySpace kid. We were freaking out. We were like, holy shit, I can't believe we just raised $50,000 from my blog. So we continued reaching out to people. We wanted to raise more money. We needed to raise like another 100 grand. I ended up hitting everybody up, just like in Ed Kangs' video, friends, family, associates. I texted everybody. And eventually my mom, she was a realtor. Some of the people she sold houses to that were rich, and she just built relationships with them. I just asked, hey mom, is there anybody that I can pitch to? And she knew a couple guys that bought houses that were rich, and she just asked for an email intro. It's not like I texted or called. She just threw it out there for me to some people who might be interested in investing in a young kid who has made $2 million before from MySpace. What I did is I sent him an email of the the idea, and something we don't do really too much anymore. It was an executive summary, some projections of how we're gonna make money from ads and memberships and selling prints online for the models and the photographers who want to order physical prints. So I did the whole projections in Excel. I told them about my credibility, you know, my success that I've already done. That helps a lot when you're raising money. So it goes back to being a builder and having things you've done so that you can show some sort of credibility. It's gonna be very hard if you don't have some sort of credibility. You're gonna need massive amounts of passion and traction or content, and we'll talk about all that later. Point being, me and Jamie met him in person, went over the idea, went over everything, we just went over the projections, and I just remember going to his house in Cherry Creek in Colorado. We left that meeting, he emailed us, yes, he said he would give us $100,000, and he gave us $100,000. And that was my first experience raising money from two angels. That was my first startup in 2009, BEMODEL. After that startup, we moved to Evolve. Evolve was probably my most successful startup. I was doing a lot of little hacky things in between, but then we finally got to our next real startup with my business partner, Steven, and I met him at a boot camp for coding in San Francisco because I took a little break, and then Apple came out with their new programming language, Swift, and I decided to go to this boot camp, and it forced me to code for I think it was a 2-month boot camp every day. I met my business partner there, and we decided to work together. We hit it off really well. I lived in Los Angeles. He was only 45 minutes from Los Angeles, and we got a co-working space. We met up every day and we worked on ideas until we finally settled on one idea. And him and I went through about 4 different ideas. At first, we were gonna start like a dev shop where we build apps for other people, and that was miserable. And we finally stuck with an idea. This idea is the one that I've raised the most money for to date. It was 1.8 million we raised for this company. This is a book in itself, a learning lesson of massive failures and mistakes. But hey, failures are learning lessons, right? So I'm gonna go over the most inspirational part of this story right now first, and that is gonna be my old business partner and still friend to this day. We talk once a week, a couple times a week, and he's working on a new awesome project. And we ended up going different directions because we just had different aspirations and we wanted to build different things after this fitness app. So Evolve Fitness was Steven's idea. Here's where things get creative. Apple was launching their first TV show ever called Planet of the Apps. It was with Gary Vaynerchuk, Jessica Alba, Gwyneth Paltrow, and will.i.am. They weren't giving you money, they were just giving you a mentor, which sucks because it would have been awesome if they gave you money too. But you basically get on the TV show, you pitch in front of them, then they basically click a button if they're interested. If none of the 4 mentors click the button, you're done. But we got lucky. One person hit the button. I think it was Gwyneth Paltrow who saved our ass and said that she was interested. Let's roll that submission video right now.
What's up, I'm David.
We are New City Interactive.
New City! New City Interactive, taking over for the 16 and the 17, bitches.
Yo, what's the deal, nigga? Ain't nothing, Paul. We just here laughing and all that. Trying to get our heads.
We live in Los Angeles, California, the city of dreams.
Our app is called Evolve.
It's a health and fitness app that helps our users achieve their fitness goals.
Users will be able to follow along with customized exercise and meal programs that evolve with you over time.
We use the latest technology to count your calories, daily intake, and keep you inspired with fitness programs.
We think this app is perfect for the show because it'll help millions of people transform their lives.
One of the coolest things about Evolve is we feature the fastest way to record your meals via voice recognition.
New City Interactive was founded by the 3 of us. All of us bring something different to the table.
Andrew is just a ball full of energy and excitement. He's the one who keeps pushing the team forward.
Steven is always working. He brings a laptop with him everywhere he goes.
Dave is probably one of the most uplifting people I've ever met in my life.
Dave, superstar, marketing genius, viral video master, you name it, the guy does it all. I think we make a pretty good team.
Being on Planet of the Apps would change our lives. We could really use the funding, the support, and the front page feature would be huge for us.
Evolve only has one mission, to make being healthy simple.
Okay, so you guys saw the submission video. I know, extremely freaking douchey. We went extreme with it. What I did is I knew a video director. The guy that you saw with the crazy hair, Dave Lear, he was somebody I followed from the MySpace days, and I was obsessed with this guy's comedy and performance and video and directing skills. And I've always wanted to work with him. And I was like, I'm gonna meet that kid someday when I move to LA. So when I moved to LA and I had the money and I had the mansion and I had the Bentley and I had all that dumb stuff, I reached out to him and said, hey, if you ever wanna film one of your music videos in my mansion, feel free. So I gave value first and we became friends. We shot music videos, we hung out, and then finally it hit me. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hit this guy up. I'm going to propose to him to be a part of this team, to be a founder, because we're gonna need to forever film workout videos, film models, film fitness models. We're a workout app with programs and we're gonna have constant footage in the app. We're gonna be filming fitness influencers 24/7. Plus, we need to fucking get on this Apple TV show. And his editing skills were like, he's good. He's really passionate about what he does. So I was like, yo, we all go thirds on this company. You be the full-time editor, video director, filmer, you get the fitness, you do talent. Me and Steven will be the engineers. So he agreed, he made the submission video, your boy got on Planet of the Apps. Now, what really sucks is when we got on Planet of the Apps, they only wanted 2 people. You're not gonna believe this. I was nervous as fuck being in front of cameras. YouTube's a little different. I'm pretty sure now with all the practice on YouTube, I'd be fine now. I was pretty fucking butthurt that I couldn't make the cut. We did the first test run when they came. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be ready to go down the escalator and go pitch in front of Will.i.am. I'm gonna choke, I'm gonna be sweating. I was so scared. Dave and Steven made it to the TV show and they went through all of the mentorship and all of the rounds, and then I'd have to hear the feedback and wait for the feedback. It frickin' sucked. We went through the mentorship. Ultimately, we chose Jessica Alba. So what I'm gonna do for you guys now is I'm gonna run the clip of my business partners pitching on Planet of the Apps. So roll that clip.
Evolve is a health and fitness app that makes being healthy simple.
If you guys want to see the whole thing, I'll put a link to a Google Drive so you can see the whole episode, because I don't even know if you can watch the episodes anymore. Getting on the Planet of the Apps, they promised mentorship and front page of the App Store. We were on cloud 9 at that point. Now, we had all the leverage in the world. Not all the leverage, because typical VCs would probably still just be like, cool. Maybe we'd have got some interest, but it was a lot more appealing and easier to get angels. My business partners, Steven and David, they pitched the VC because at the end of the Apple TV show, they pitch a VC firm, and then the VC firm they pitched was Lightspeed Ventures. Ultimately, we didn't get the VC funding. We had to start thinking, how are we gonna raise money for Evolve Fitness? We have to build something awesome through this mentorship. We don't have the money to build this product. We don't have the money to get a developer, pay ourselves, and get more developers to help us. We had a big app that we were promising. It was actually really bad that I had some savings left, and Steven started Lyft driving, Ubering and Lyfting, but he was doing Lyft more. They had some promo special at the time that he was doing. And Steven is one of these crazy, obsessive workers. He cares nothing more than succeeding. And he was the best business partner I've had ever. He does nothing but works. He takes his laptop everywhere. We would go to the restaurant, he'd have his laptop. When he didn't have a customer and he's just waiting around for a customer, he's coding in the car. Steven was dropping off a Lyft rider to the casino. Steven got a call and he asked the guy in the back, Steven's Lyft customer, can he take the phone call? Steven took the phone call, and I guess Steven had to pull out his laptop or send something that was really important as soon as they got to the casino. And he overheard Steven talking about building apps and working on software. And the guy in the back seat, Rob, was very inspired by Steven. Steven had to make a deal that basically, if he invested, not only would he get equity, but when Evolve Fitness launched and we had a little bit of extra time, we would do a prototype or work on his app. Sometimes these are the kind of shitty deals you have to take. I forget the app, probably some weed app, because the dude owns a whole bunch of weed stores and like legit, like owns a whole bunch of marijuana shops. The crazy thing is he was departing like a week later. He was going to China and we were trying to close this deal. I think it was $20K or something like that. He gave us half of the investment before taking off in LAX airport. And something I got to tell you, he invested a total of $350K once we landed the Planet of the Apps TV show, and we were able to tell him about that. And it started with the $20K investment during a Lyft drive to the casino, which still blows my mind. So after we got that $20K, we needed more money. We started going down our phone book. trying to find people who would, invest a big chunk of cash. We got like 10K here, 5K here, 10K here. We got a little bit of money in between, but we wanted a big angel investor. We went out for a night of drinks, kind of like celebrate, planted the apps, super excited. That night it hit me and I was like, why don't I just message the old investor for BEMODEL? He invested in 2009. I gave up on BEMODEL around 2011, 2012. I gave it a good 2-3 years. I haven't spoken to the BEMODEL investor, Ron, in probably at least 4 or 5 years. But for whatever reason, I shot Ron an email. I apologized for, the last investment. I was like, I'm sorry, BEMODEL didn't work out. We have a huge opportunity here. We landed the first ever TV show with Jessica Alba, will.i.am, Planet of the Apps. I hyped the shit out of it. And I was like, we're gonna be on the front of the app store. It's a fitness app, but it just so happened to be, he was very into fitness as well, staying healthy. He wasn't necessarily like doing workout programs probably on the phone or calorie tracking, but in his 50s. So he cares about eating right and all that stuff. And he ended up investing $1.2 million into Evolve Fitness. And it's just kind of crazy to think that I hit up an old investor that I lost money and he was willing to give me a chance again. And he even said he's giving me a chance again because you invest not just in the business, but in the person. Ultimately, we put our heart and soul into Evolve for 3-ish years. We tried everything we could. Our churn was too high with this fitness app, and we just made a lot of startup mistakes. And that was my first real startup. That one ultimately failed too. And I have been just learning from all of these mistakes and gathering data. Now let's go on to my third startup, Gypsee. Right as I raised the money, COVID happened a month later, which is a super bummer. But we raised a little over 200 grand for Gypsee, and that was doing the same thing that Ed King talks about, just reaching out to everybody, talking to people that I think that might know people with money who could find other angels. And then I was even making deals with people who could find me an angel investor that I'd give them 5 to 10%, which I think technically you're not allowed to give commission to somebody who brings you an angel investor. I don't know, that's what I've heard. And I have some crazy learning lessons from this business as well. But as far as this goes, one of the old investors from Evolved invested into Gypsee. And then I raised some money from the old investors as well, a little bit of money, not a lot. 3 of the bigger investors in Gypsee was all through friends, finding associates, and just networking and talking and constantly talking and pitching. At that point, I could no longer use my credibility from the MySpace days. MySpace days was like 2006. We're already in like 2020. So I'm working with only product, traction, content, networking, sales, and pitching. It's a lot easier to raise when you have Planet of the Apps, or you made $2 million just a couple years prior. Gypsee, I started lacking on leverage, right? I was still able to raise because I networked like crazy. I pitched and I sold and I built a beautiful pitch deck. I had beautiful designs. I started working on the prototype. Eventually, I had an actual product, but I raised all the money pre-product. So it was all based on designs, pitching, the idea, how much it's gonna be worth, and selling the shit out of the vision. I did a crowdfunding campaign with my boy Chandler at Pick Me crowdfunding campaign. I think we did somewhere between 10 and 15 grand. I don't remember how much we raised on crowdfunding, but that is how I raised money for Gypsee. Now we are going to talk about startup number 4. Every entrepreneur has a graveyard of failures, except for one psycho, Jeff Bezos. His first startup became a $1 trillion company. Every entrepreneur has massive amounts of failures until one finally hits. And I had a lot of little wins in between, but these big $1 billion ideas that I had, none of them hit. And I feel like it was all a learning lesson for Autopilot. This is my home run. We'll save that for another video as well. I'm really excited about it, but we're gonna talk about how I raised money for the current startup I'm working on now, Autopilot. Autopilot's completely different on how we raised money. It was all YouTube. And it really comes down to the same thing, the same principles. YouTube and content is where it's at. We keep hearing it. Gary Vee, Alex Hormozi, they all say it. And Gary says something that stuck with me for the longest time. And he said this like 6 years ago. If you don't have a brand presence online, you're not gonna be known. It's gonna be impossible for your company to survive in the future. It's true. People buy from people like YouTubers, and I'd rather meet a YouTuber than an actual like celebrity back in the day because they just seem more relatable. What I'm trying to say is when you put yourself out there as an educator and as a teacher, for example, with my junk removal channel here, I have been teaching people how to build a business, a junk removal business. It's insane with only 8,000 subscribers, the amount of respect I've earned, the amount of trust that I've earned, and just the amount of people that believe in me. 1 year into my junk removal business, I decided I wanted to build a field service management software. And that's about when I started my YouTube channel. And I think like my 4th, 5th video in, I started saying, I'm here to help you, but my intentions are to sell you my software later.
My name's Andrew, guys. I'm a serial entrepreneur, a software engineer, and a junk removal business owner. I started this junk removal business in California as a stepping stone to return to my passion of technology and apps. I invite you to stick around, hang out, and follow me on my journey from becoming a junk removal business titan to building a $1 billion home services app to compete with Housecall Pro and WorkEase.
For 130 videos, I've been saying that same thing for a year and a half on YouTube, but I've been giving value and teaching and just educating people. And when I finally announced my software, people wanted to invest. A couple times I mentioned it, like, hey, if you want to invest, let me know. But most people came to me and I was like, hey, if you want to invest and you believe in me, because I'm going to turn this into bigger than Housecall Pro and Jobber. And granted, it is a $1 billion industry. Service Titan's going public for like 10 billion this summer, are the rumors, 10 to 15 billion. Jobber is worth 2 to 3 billion. Housecall Pro is worth like 1.5 billion. It's technically a blue ocean. I had a meeting with Ed Kang, which he's super awesome. I had a meeting and he was telling me that I'm in a blue ocean. The field service management space is technically a blue ocean. I thought I was getting into a red ocean. A CRM would be a red ocean. If you don't know red ocean versus blue ocean, go check out that book. Really good stuff. Point being, guys, if you're struggling to find angel investors and you're struggling to raise money, you might not be able to raise money right away with this method, but if you start now and you start putting yourself out there and educating and being a leader in the industry, an expert in whatever you're trying to do. Like for example, you can apply this to whatever business you're doing, but for example, I was teaching junk removal. That is a small niche in a giant home services industry. There's like 35,000 junk removal companies in the United States, and there's 2.5 million home service businesses in the United States. They're gonna need field service management software, or they all use field service management software. And the beautiful thing about that is after I get all of the junk removal people that I built trust with to come use my software and tell me what's wrong, and I beta test and I get it perfect over the next few months, I could then start going to cleaning companies, HVAC, plumbing, all the other home service businesses. You need to figure out what you can do for content and just give. And that's the thing. Long as you give and you don't ask for anything in return, people are gonna like you. Long as you give good advice, especially if you're gonna be in B2B, long form is how you gain the respect and how you capture the audience, the type of audience that you want that will binge your content. Now, if you're working on more of a B2C SaaS app and you need to get like consumers' attention, for example, my travel app, and you wanna show like little travel videos, yeah, you're probably gonna have to do some shorts and some reels. Content marketing and YouTube will change your life if you stick with it and come up with a game plan. I promise you, YouTube is life-changing. With all of that said, what lessons did I take from this? Let's start with the obvious. Track record is going to be key. I had a track record when I was 17 years old and 18 years old. I was able to use that for leverage. I was a 17-year-old kid who made $2 million. That's insane to me, even thinking about it. If you guys don't have a track record, it's gonna be harder to raise money, but this goes without saying. You need to know everything about your field, and you need to be good at sales. You need to be likable. You have to have charisma. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I've closed some investors. If you don't have a track record, you need to be a builder. You need to have product. You need to have pitch decks. You need to have something tangible. And tangible meaning you can have digital tangibleness too. You know, I don't mean tangible in the real world unless you're building a real product. And then also having traction and just having something that you can show people that you're actively doing something and you're not a loser. Because if you're just a talker, it's gonna be really hard to raise money. Although there's some people who are really good at talking who can raise money. For Evolve, we had leverage. Leverage is great. So if you're a builder and you're constantly working and you're constantly seeking out opportunity, you're gonna build your own luck. And when you have leverage, use that. Maybe you have some incredible advisors on your board that are just really well known. If you don't have a track record or leverage, that leads us to this. here's how you raise money. I'm assuming most people searching for how to raise money, you're probably in my shoes. The reason I keep bringing up Ivy League is because I'm trying to get into YC and I see all these Ivy League people getting in, and I see all my friends who have raised money and they went to like really good colleges, or they have just really good connections and networking. And you know, I'm a dropout. I don't have a diploma. I don't have a GED. I'm very scrappy. I decided to get tattoos all over myself. I probably should have not done the tattoos. It probably would have helped raise money a little more, but tattoos are becoming more normal now. But you're probably struggling to raise money, and I've been there. I went through a rut. It was really hard at some points. I have things that go against me. And if you are at that point right now where you don't have a track record, you don't have leverage, and you don't have the network, the answer I'm about to give you is going to be pretty generic, but here's what I think. First of all, you have to be a builder. There are so many low code and no code tools out there that you can build essentially anything. And if you're an engineer, being a builder is not a problem at all. Put together your pitch deck, get together your idea. And this goes to YC too. If you don't know Y Combinator, it's an accelerator. They only truly invest in products that have been built and are having traction. Yeah, maybe they'll put some money into pre-seed, but they want to see you actually build something, and now they even want to see traction. So be a builder, and if you can get traction, great. That's basically just launching and getting traction. You got to start generating money. But second, content. Figure out a way to get out there. You could do a faceless YouTube channel, like for example, if it was Gypsee, you could do travel hacks and it's just like B-roll and stuff, but try to put yourself out there. It builds trust. And especially if you're an educator and you're a teacher, you just earn so much respect and you earn trust. YouTube long form is just a whole different world. It's kind of crazy. And I'm just touching the surface. I'm hoping this channel gets to 100K eventually with all the lessons that I learn and you know all that stuff and the stuff that I can teach. But be a builder, build your product, start putting out content, and don't stop. Do it for a year. And third, I'm just gonna call it brute force. Brute force means you will make contacts. If you're a builder and you're putting out content and you have a YouTube channel and you're educating, you're teaching, and you're building a product and you have a pitch deck, you will find a way to brute force contacts. And what I mean by brute force is text everybody, message every single person, and just ask if they know somebody. You will have something tangible to show. You will be excited, you'll have content, and it feels good when you can send people to your YouTube channel. People look at you differently when you're out there on YouTube putting out content and you're constantly sharing and giving and educating and building a following. So when you brute force your way through all of these contacts, you will make it work, I promise. Like I said, if you don't have contacts, you're gonna start with your mom's friends, your dad's friends, associates, friends, social media, every email in your email box, every person you've ever talked to, you're just gonna pitch and say, hey, I have an idea, I'm working on something, do you know anybody who might be interested that I can just pitch? And you're just gonna pitch, and you're just gonna build content, brute force. That's all I got for you guys. That was fun going down memory lane for me. I hope you guys took something from it. I tried my best to explain how I raised the money and how you guys could possibly raise money as well. But as always, I leave you guys with this. Success is often covered in dirt, but so was gold at one point. Toodles!